Welcome, everyone, to episode 18 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by Crimson Warlock.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Jez.
Almost December.
And Agrios and Dendros.
Greetings, Guardians.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny right now, live, because River isn't here to fill us in on all the important things, like our Twitch, or like our Twitter account is at G1NET. Important things like that. Also, we're part of the Guardian Radio Network, so he's not here to talk about those things. So we're going to get right into some Destiny. And I am very excited to talk about it. I would like to start off by talking about a comment I received on Twitter today from Seer Prophet. Would like us to discuss new mechanics for the new raid and a coin system where when you beat the raid, you're earning coins to buy something. That way you know you're making progress every time you do the raid. He adds, at the very least, they should stop giving you the same sniper rifle after you've picked up 5 of them. And I absolutely agree. Like, these are all very interesting things to talk about. And I've been wondering how Bungie could do something to make the raid feel so much less disappointing when you get absolutely nothing. And this actually goes right back to the Iron Banner. You know, they offer you a coin when you lose that redeems at almost the same amount as a win. Like that keeps me going despite my horrible inability to kill anybody in the Crucible in general, but Iron Banner specifically, despite the fact that I'm level 30. So I think that's really cool. I think they'd have to add another vendor in order to redeem these coins, but having some kind of progression, I think it would be really cool. What do you think about that, Agrios? Do you think that you would welcome and or be very interested or not interested at all in a coin style system, like you defeated Atheon again and you've still not got what you want, but you're getting some portion of the way up to that? Is that something that you like, or is it you just enjoy the crapshoot?
No, I definitely don't like being totally at the beck and call of RNGesus and have to rely on him for advancing even, to the next level. There has been, multiple posts by people who have run far more raids than myself and still aren't able to get their codes, their guardians all to level 30. I really like the ability in games to be able to work toward things. I like that in the rest of the area, I wish they changed it up more, but I like that you earn marks from other events and get to choose which legendaries you get to a certain degree, as well as having ones randomly awarded. So I would definitely welcome some sort of redemption system so that I could work towards specific pieces of gear. Right,
I think that would be really cool. And now that I'm thinking about it, I almost I almost feel like that would have been cool to do with the raid gear just to begin with. Like, what if instead of getting just some gloves, you got a piece of those gloves? But I guess that would be just as irritating, if not more irritating, to people who just want one piece. But yeah, if you could work towards it, if there was some goal, Jez, this should be a very interesting question for you because, well, why don't we start with how many times have you run the normal raid? How many times have you run the hard raid?
Probably.
Oh,
Geez, probably about 20 times on
uh,
normal,
and how many?
and about half that time there was a hard mode, so 30 times altogether. I just quickly dropped off once I got my gear because I was just mostly. It was more of getting the certain attributes to that gear that I wanted.
Oh, okay. So you became picky and choosy. Like you had the whole set, but you were looking for a specific
Yeah.
set. You know what? I've just started peeking into that world today. Like I'm looking at these two boots that I had, and the ones that had leveled, luckily, were the better ones. But I thought, what would I do if I had two pieces of gear and one of them was leveled and it wasn't as good? And then I started thinking about, like, I don't know if this is rationalization on my part or if this is some sound thinking, but I really feel like having that additional melee punch and or the grenade pop up faster are maybe not as important as your intellect, but they definitely have good qualities. They definitely have their own space. But so, what were you looking for? You were just looking for straight up intellect, or you had something else in mind?
Well, intellect and discipline. Strength is pretty bad for
Strength is
every
strength is
class that requires you to be next to something.
Gotcha. I see. That makes sense.
And it's probably not going to change for the near future for any type of rating, especially considering everyone has guns. But when you were talking about like a coin system where if you beat the raid, you got a coin that you could use to like hoard up and eventually buy a piece of gear, that also got me thinking that maybe after you buy the gear, you could like use one coin to reroll the stats.
Oh man, that's
That
really
would
cool.
give you a reason to do the raid, as well as use your coins for the gear you already have.
Totally, totally. That's a great idea. I really like that. So once you started doing the hard raid, was it just a switch over? You just at that point stopped doing the normal raid because you knew that you were going to get everything from the normal, or did you revisit normal for some reason?
Uh, I revisited normal on like my level 29 character. Like I only had the warlock at the time, but I just the only time that I went back to normal raid was for that one character. Every other time, it's just makes as much sense to do hard mode.
Right, and you got friends that are probably doing hard mode with or without you, so jumping right along with that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
and is exciting. Really, I just turned 30 in between this week and last week, and so super excited about it. I contacted Bife actually. He's really sick right now. I jumped into his game and he's like, "Hey, Remy, we could play as long as you don't mind me not talking." I'm like, please don't. I'm good to go. But I told him, I said, I'm ready to learn. Like I wanted to make sure I was level 30. And then I approached him and I said, because I want to learn. I want to learn what somebody knows who does this on a regular basis. That way I can turn around and share this knowledge with the people that I raid with regularly. So I have not even cleared a single checkpoint in Atheon or in the hard mode at all. Like I've tried and sometimes spent upwards of 2 hours, just 2 hours of playing the same 5 minutes of gameplay, and I'm ready to move past that. How many? So what would you say, Jez, is the minimum amount of 30s that you need in order to run through hard mode?
Well, you only need one, But like, if you're talking about having max level characters to gear up so that you can do the next raid hard mode, then you'd want as many as possible, just for as many loot rolls as possible.
Man, that is really good. Okay, so
And it's easier with all one character, or one class, I should say.
yeah, I see the way forward with that method, and am sometimes jealous that I have not taken that method. But as I've beat the regular raid with all three classes, and I feel like that's the way I need to go. I feel like I don't know, beating it on with all three people, especially the hunter. The hunter is a really fun class to play, but the jump is so much not like the other two. Like even the warlock isn't very much like the titan, but the hunter is so much different. I didn't think I was going to make it across that jumping puzzle, but it was actually way easier with the hunter. It was way easier with the hunter. So yeah, well, let's go to Crimson Warlock. What do you think about that, Crimson? As someone who's run the raid, how many times would a coin system at this point be something that you're very excited about? Like, this is not something that they've announced or anything that in reality. This is just one person's thinking on this. But is that something that you would be excited to see?
Yeah, I think it does need to be implemented. My only concern with implementing a system like that is what happens 6 months from now when you don't care about what comes out of the vaults of glass. You care about what comes out of the current raids. Like, that's just almost obsolete information that's just sitting on your character that you're never using. You don't need to redeem those coins anymore, or you don't have enough and you don't want to run through the raid really quick to get enough to redeem those last bit of coins. So there is a time when it does kind of become obsolete, but I think it is very necessary just because of how random the game is. But I would almost like, instead of having so many coins for a piece of gear, I'd almost rather that you buy parts of your gear, like you buy 2 or 3 aspects and you craft your gear, just because that would be fun for me. I like crafting. I think there needs to be crafting, but also it'd be another way to maybe get the stats that you want. Instead of having the RNG there, you buy one of the components that says, this focuses on intellect only, or this part focuses on intellect and strength. Just something like that, so that you could craft the gear that you wanted, and it would have the stats that you want right when you craft it. But the Reforged system could work with stats as long as they implement it. But I also think there's some things that shouldn't be bought from the vendor, like the Mythoclast. Everyone wants that, but it should be that prize for being lucky enough and beating the hardest content. It should be something that you can buy after doing the raid 10 times or something. There needs to be some of those that I think are still got by RNG, but also by your skill by beating the hardest content.
That's a good point. I think that's a very good point. There still needs to be that incentive to do it, and that reward that makes you unique. I think there isn't actually not enough of that in Destiny. The things that make you particularly unique. I think where it falls more important though is in the armor when it comes into question, when that's what controls what level you are and controls many other aspects of the game besides just the raid.
Right. So what I want to know is where is the balance? Where do they balance, looking unique versus I know what that guy is capable of because I'm looking at that piece of gear. Like after spending a lot of time in the same set of armor, I started to kind of feel like I lived in that armor. Like it was my everyday look. It was what it was. And I know that when people looked at me, they knew what I was capable of, or at least they knew what on paper It was, but I feel like there's just not enough customization. Like I feel like and now that Thunder Devil is for sale from that horribly dressed Guardian outfitter. Like who dresses themselves in Easter bunny colors? You know, like I don't get it. I don't trust her as a Guardian outfitter, honestly. You know, she dresses like crap, to be perfectly honest. And I don't know. Like, I hated that they sold that Thunder Devil because it was really the only thing that made me stand out from anyone else. Although I do have to admit that after having all of this gone by, I haven't really seen a whole lot of people in it. And I can't imagine why, because it is hands down the best shader there is. It's so awesome. Like I tried to rock Au Naturel for my raid gear, and that it looked really cool. Like it's kind of that copper, you know, like the Vex. And but I don't know. I had to go back to it. I had to go back to Thunder Devil, and actually, I bought it. I bought it for my Xbox character because I hadn't yet been gifted it by RNGesus. So, but yeah, there's just not enough customization. Like I feel like there needs to be some additional level of this is me. This isn't just, you know, like there's one of the helmets being sold by that Vanguard in the tower has this just a blade sitting on top of the helmet. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the blade sitting on the top of the helmet. I feel like it looks slapped on, and I don't think that it looks cool particularly at all. And I wanted to use the other one because it had kind of a skull face to it. But the perk on the one with the blade was that you received more super energy from killing minions of the darkness, and I couldn't turn that down. That's awesome. You know, that's really awesome.